So, as you can see in this video, I don't have the electric scooter with me anymore, because it turned out the electric controller, which basically controls the engine, has burned down. So I'm going to talk about share my experience with this a little. So what it means is the scooter has an electric controller which basically controls the power to the engine, which basically I think is a PWS controller. Well, it doesn't matter, but the problem is it gets overheated. And because these controllers are inside of the scooter, really deep inside the body itself, they don't actually get cooled down that easily. So what happens is, if you're basically riding heavy loaded, meaning that you are trying to go up hills, or you're pretty heavy, or the tires are weak. So I mean weak, like soft, too soft. So what happens is that power controller has very much load on it, and it heats up. But the problem is it doesn't cool down that easily. So basically there are two things that you can cool down. One is make sure the controller itself is really close to the body, and maybe its heat is driven to the body, so using some thermopaste or etc. The second thing which you can do, especially with these scooters, is always drive fully loaded battery, because fully loaded battery has more volts, and then in a sense it can send through higher voltage, and therefore consumes less amperes. So it then less heat, doesn't produce that heat that much. And so really annoying. I really like these electric scooters, but these are the things that you could keep in mind when you're buying a scooter, especially, I don't know how the other scooters, but especially the Zero 10X. It's a little I don't think it's really thought too much of it. And the third thing which you can do is always drive dual motors. Maybe don't use the maximum throttle, maybe reduce the LCD setting to P12 to maybe a little less, but then what happens, that power will be distributed into two electric controllers, and therefore you will have let's say the heat distribution between the two controllers, the electric controllers, and therefore also it will accelerate a little bit faster, and then you will drive in cruise control, basically not pushing too much, and then you can also have a much let's say those controllers will not heat up that much, or basically maybe they will try to cool down themselves. So I think this part of the scooters is really weak. I don't think about the battery itself, I think about the electric controllers themselves, that are really weak. So yeah, keep this in mind. And in case if it burns down, you can solder out the broken MOSFETs. MOSFETs is basically a transistor, only that opens instantly. I think the transistors have they open up not instant. So basically a transistor has will output less power. So yeah, if it breaks down, well, you should also start studying electronics and fix it yourself, because there basically I think only one part could be broken. In my case, the controller had burned down its soldering places, and therefore you need to solder them. But I decided I'm going to buy a new one and use the old one, broken one, to fix it afterwards, some day later. So when I fix it, I'll show you in a video how I done it, and cheers.